Good day. I'm Martin Gago with Market Radius Research. It's Thursday, April the 13th, and we've got CEO Mike Hilmer of HANK Payments joining us. HANK's a SaaS-based consumer finance company to help consumers manage and budget personal cash flows. We interviewed Mike last year, and the company just announced a significant deal for entering into the Canadian market. Mike's here to give us an update on the company in general and provide some details on the significance of its Canadian expansion. But please remember, this is neither a recommendation nor investment advice. We're here to learn about the company. Mike, thank you very much for taking the time to talk with us. It has been a while. Just as a bit of a refresher, why don't you just remind everyone what HANK does and what services you provide to help consumers better manage their cash flows?
Yeah, thanks. Good to talk to you again, Martin. HANK's never been more timely in terms of a platform. We manage cash for consumers. We automate the idea of cash management for consumers. We debit their accounts when they get paid, and we remit their bill payments on the dates they're due. And as a consequence, they build equity, save money, and generally get more financially well. And that technology is really the sort of core of our technology stack. And now we've kind of evolved to building vertical market experiences to bring that stack to market in all kinds of other market verticals.
Your primary market till now has been the automotive market. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so we talked about 12 months ago. It's been a tumultuous time in the economy with lots of inflation. And how has that affected the business in general? Has the business been growing? The share price doesn't really reflect a lot of things in small cap land, as sort of everyone's gotten punched in the face a few times. How's the engine working?
Well, like everybody else in the small cap world, we took a step back, last year as we saw that the capital markets were drying up for small caps, liquidity was drying up, and funds and investors were trying to figure out what the heck's going on. And as a consequence, you have to figure out how to continue to grow and advance your strategy with less. And I think the team's been really, really successful in sort of advancing some things that we wanted to do, meaning start licensing the platform to companies that already have consumers, which avoids a huge amount of CAC and reduces the capital you need to grow. And we've been able to do that despite dramatically cutting our operating costs. So we've been able to continue to innovate, build these great vertical experiences for education, advance our transportation experience. We have a solution now for banks and lenders. So we've been able to advance our platform by, shrinking our cost base, focusing on what really matters. And a lot of that shrinkage comes from overhead that we had sort of incurred to do some acquisitions. And those acquisitions obviously became unpalatable from a return on equity perspective. So, I fundamentally believe everything happens for a reason. I think the business is far stronger. If you look at our numbers, our burn is significantly less. And we're as you indicated, we've signed our first material licensing deal, which is north of $5 million as the base fee for a Canadian licensee who doesn't want to be named yet. That will come out in time. And that's a company that we've been working with their partners and prospective enterprise customers to advance our solution into those markets. And so on that particular engagement, which I think Q4 is when we'll start seeing revenue from it, and then that continues for a relatively long time. We think there'll be much more meaningful revenue over and above that base fee based on how many users they bring onto the platform. So we're really excited about that, but we're also super excited about our education products, in which we've developed 5 products for the US education market, which is colleges, universities, that improves the cash flow for the school, actually, as well as the students. And the uptake on that is extraordinary. Far greater than we expected to be, and we expect to be announcing successive school signings and launches through the rest of this year.
All right. So with the, let's start off with the, on the Canadian deal, you're basically white labeling it to someone else who's going to take your tech stack and then market it to their customers or who, or whatever, however they interact with it. And I guess from the auto market, what you did is you kind of better connected the auto dealer with the consumer, so the dealer knows that monthly payments are going to be taken out, and then the consumer knows that these are going to be taken out, and then they can just kind of manage it better because it's all kind of automated, and then work around it, as opposed to sort of scrambling at the end of the month thing, where am I going to get the few $100 to pay my car bill? Is that basically?
Yeah, that's part of what they're doing. They have a lot of relationships with banks and lenders, and also in the automotive industry. And with these higher rates, equity is a real problem, and payments have gone up about $250 a year in the last 3 years, and so, which is a function of supply and rate issues.
Yeah.
And so, they've got a more, let's say, expansive view of how to service those customers really well, and we're part of that. And they fundamentally believe that if you can help control the consumer's cash flow, you can also help build deposits, meaning savings, help them save for a rainy day, and sort of reprioritize how they're paying bills to make sure they're reducing interest costs. And when you reduce interest costs, you're effectively freeing up cash that can be put on a bank's balance sheet as a GIC or deposit or whatever the case may be. And so, we've had a number of calls with institutions with them. There's a lot of interest. It's a platform they've never really heard of, but it makes sense to them. So we're expecting some pretty big things out of that particular opportunity, and we love working with that partner. They're extremely innovative.
And are you getting sort of a cut of revenues? It's like a minimum base revenue of $5 million a year. Does that basically mean like every quarter they're going to write you a license fee for $1.25 million and just, or monthly, whatever that is?
Yeah, there's a quarterly minimum, and it's on an declining scale.
And it's also transaction based. So if they do more business, then revenues will be higher as well. Exactly.
That gets them so many users. And then over and above that user count, we get our per user fee over and above, plus 15% of the revenue associated with the revenue our platform generated for them, sort of as an ongoing royalty. So if you think about it this way, if they have other products, and if they package their product at $29.99 a month, and they sell us at $9.99 a month, we would get our fee plus another 15%, call it another $1.50. So, and in that case, that's just pure licensing. It excludes the banking engine, although we can attach to our own bank or their bank, whoever they want to use, which would be incremental to that. So yeah, it's it's an opportunity we spent a lot of time developing, and I'm on a call with them this afternoon. Actually, we're in constant communication on several very large opportunities they're working on. So we like the way the deal is structured for us. Now, in our role in the deal is continue to innovate, obviously, but we're going to host the technology in a dedicated environment for them. We take the operational responsibility to keep the tech up and running. We share use of the data and the analytics of the data, and we integrate into their technology on their side.
Gotcha. And is it an exclusive for the Canadian market? Could you license or enter in with other partners, or they've got Canada locked down with HANK?
They've got it locked down.
Okay. All right. And I know you can't, and I'm sorry if I'm being a little cute here. Would we know the name of the partner if or when it is announced? Would go, or is it a bit of a lower key provider in the Canadian financial services market?
Yeah, they're a lesser known provider, but I think that the customers will be known.
Okay.
As we start signing those deals.
Okay, so their customers who they would
sign. Customers, yeah, correct.
Are you going to be able to announce much stuff that they do, or is it going to be a bit of a black box where we wait for your quarterly, say, oh, that was a good quarter?
No, I think we intend to announce joint announcements along the way. I think it's important for both of us that everybody understands what we're working on.
Okay, well, that sounds very impressive. And in your news release, it's a smaller portion, but you're entering the U.S. college student loan business, and that is a massive business.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's bigger than the Canadian economy or what. So that
Uh,
actually sounds very good. Is this a licensing deal as well, or are you directly going to the educational institutions and sort of doing your own customer acquisitions?
So that's effectively a sort of a banking as a service model, again,
Okay.
using our stack. So we built an educational experience, 5 different products on top of our stack that are used either by the school for various functions or by the students or sometimes together. And so there's 18 million, students in school in the US. So, almost half the Canadian population. So it's a very, very meaningful opportunity, 5,000 colleges and universities, and they go from 4,000 students to well over 40,000 students. And the way we think about that is a small school of 4,000 students where half of them are using the platform for various things. I think we've estimated around $200,000 a year for a smaller school. And that's recurring.
That would be your rough revenue that
Yeah.
you figure you would clip off of that?
Off each small school.
Okay.
And then, it's a factor of 10, obviously, on some of the larger schools.
Yeah.
So it's pretty meaningful, actually. We were at conferences across the sector just the last couple of weeks. Our sales team was there and developed a funnel of close to 175 schools very quickly. We were kind of shocked by the interest, but it's a very fragmented market that is burdened by a lack of technology understanding, let's say.
Yeah.
And with the 5 products, they can get sort of everything they're getting from individual vendors, except for a couple of products that are completely unique to the market, they can get from us. And so part of that is helping students save for school. And that's one of the really simple products rooted in our baseline thesis of the business, where educational institutions want those kids to be prepared to go to school, and we want more sub 25-year-old demographic on our platform, because we think the lifetime value of those kids as they enter the workforce is going to be significantly higher. They'll stay, we have 25% of our customers have been on the platform for 4 years, which is really good stick rate. But we think we can lengthen that dramatically by getting more and more students using this to, first of all, save for school and pay their tuition in deferred payments or one time through our platform, provide a ledgering system for the educational institution so they know how to book cash into the GL and into their systems, but keep that student on the platform through their entire journey through school and then as they enter the workforce. So we love that market. We're literally working out what's the most efficient way to turn schools on as quickly as possible. We have a couple signed MOUs already, and the product is just coming out now. So we spent a few months sort of putting it together. But we expect to be announcing schools, probably starting in May and just successively. And the way the school revenue stream works is it's heavily burdened towards semester starts. So September, there's a massive bulge of revenue and a ton of margin in cash. And also in the first quarter semesters. And then there's some reoccurring that continues. For example, in disbursements, schools where students have received a disbursement from another institution, government agency, where they've basically overfunded their education, the school has to remit the difference back to them. And they'll be using our platform to do that in a really innovative way. So lots of really cool, innovative things. We've got a great team in that sector. They've been doing this for years. With banks, and they're simply said, hey, we're not doing it the right way. Will you build it the right way? And if you do, we think we'll clean up this whole market. So we did. We put the resource behind it very cautiously after doing dozens and dozens of models to figure out the return. And we are super excited about the traction we're seeing there. And I will add just that that same model applies actually to healthcare and a couple other verticals that we expect to enter later. Yeah. So the tech we've built is replicable, and I call that the experiential tech that sits on the stack. Yeah. Is replicable across a couple of other industries.
Yeah.
And so when we look at our sales coverage model across the US, we think we can cover hospitals as an example, as well as education with the same salespeople, which is very efficient for us.
And so you do it because it's a lot easier, well, maybe harder for one, but to get one college is like 4,000 students, let's say, in there. Once you have that, are you then have to work to get those 4,000 students onto the platform? Or does basically the educational institution then say, hey, if you pay your tuition and manage your fees through this app that we're partnered with, and they sort of funnel, or I don't know, push is, or maybe pull the students onto the platform, and you use their leverage with the students to get them on the platform?
Exactly right. It becomes the way you pay tuition, whether it's upfront or deferred over time.
Yeah.
It's a way you get disbursements. So we become the standard. So the school brings that to the students.
Okay, so you're not marketing to hundreds of thousands of students,
No.
you're marketing to tens of thousands of educational institutions.
Yeah, 5,000. Yeah.
Or thousands. Okay,
Yeah.
that's a heck of a lot fewer phone calls to make and a bigger return on
exactly.
a call.
It's a very low CAC. You know, you spend a bit of time, get one school,
Yeah.
and off you go, right? And you have to do a good job, obviously, in the more
Yeah.
reference schools. And we really primarily built it for the smaller schools because, you know, they don't have huge budgets and they're not super tech savvy. But what we're finding is some of the larger schools, the problem that we solve is bigger in the larger schools, obviously.
Yeah.
And so some of the interest we're getting is pretty exciting for us.
That's cool. That sounds really neat, because I like so many companies have tried to target the student market, but it's so fragmented. But if you can get to them through the schools, then it's a whole lot easier. That's neat.
Yeah. And we're working on integrations with student records companies because, you know, sort of Oracle and a number of other companies have a back office technology that runs all the programs and runs the GLs. And so when you integrate to them, and it gives you access to, and we've already signed partner agreements with 2, that gives us access to 2,200 schools.
Yeah.
So once you integrate to them for certain of our products, you're already available to all of those schools.
Oh, neat. Okay.
Yeah.
And so you talked about the seasonality. It sounds like we should start gaining financial traction off of this in September, August, September.
September. Yeah. We're expecting, I mean, it's going to be a function of how many schools we can get on. We don't have to have a lot of schools on to move the needle and actually generate profit as a company.
Yeah.
But, you know, we're on constant calls around this launch, and, you know, we really don't see a scenario where this does not become a profitable company leaving this year.
Yeah.
And then the numbers, and then, you know, we just continuously add schools every month.
Yeah.
So we have sort of milestones internally that we want to get as many, you know, X number on by the fall semester, and then through the Christmas, get as many more on as we can, because that first quarter next year is also another meaningful enrollment cycle.
Yeah.
And, you know, at scale, the numbers are unbelievably attractive, put it that way. And, you know, we're in a show me market, right? Like at the end of the day, as you know, you cover small caps. It doesn't really, nobody cares what press release you put out until you start showing. And we would like people to care, because they should really be looking at this stock now and thinking about it, because it's so cheap. But we understand that the entire market is rooted in a show me mentality, and there's a lot of fear and worry. And I think that as you start generating cash flow and you don't have to go back and tap the market, people sort of will wade into these kinds of companies if they're still cheap. And I think, you know, based on the way the market seems to be behaving, you're not going to see 10 to 20 times revenue valuations anytime soon. So they're all kind of cheap. So, but, you know, I mean, if you looked at our last quarter, you know, 300K loss roughly on an adjusted EBITDA basis, you know, I'm a lot happier being in that situation than where we were a year ago.
Yeah.
Because that is, you know, we are within striking distance of making money and generating a lot of recurring cash flow.
Well, that's what it sounds like, just with the Canadian deal itself, with that 5 million of revenue. Like, does that push you over the profit line and the EBITDA positive line?
Well, it's a scaling. I mean, there's obviously contributions in Q4. They're meaningful,
Yeah.
but we think we'll already be there from the student perspective. So then everything else is accretive.
Okay, so you think you're expecting, hoping to exit 2023 on a positive earnings cash flow basis?
Yeah, we're hoping to leave hopefully Q3 EBITDA positive. The back half of the year, I would say we have a high degree of confidence that we're going to be EBITDA neutral to positive. The only question is we don't know how positive we'll be. It just depends how many schools we can put on.
Cool. All right. Well, that sounds pretty interesting. Actually, it's it's a good year to succeed in a tough market. We should wrap this up here. Any final words and comments before we close it off here?
No, I think I just come back to the base business model. It's a high degree of recurring revenue. It's very predictable. We don't take any balance sheet risk. We just manage payments and cash flow on a fee basis. And that is, in my opinion, one of the best places to be in a tough market like this. I don't invest in lending companies. They worry me right now. Debt, high inflation rates, high debt rate, debt costs, all set up really well for usage of our platform. And of course, I'd like to see rates go down like everybody else, but we seem to be just getting this huge steam behind us, and we're going to capitalize on it.
Yeah, and I guess just to re-emphasize here, you're not lending to anyone. You're helping facilitate cash flows. It's an information company. It's not a lending
That's right.
company. You got your balance sheet. You got to pay your bills and stuff, but you don't have client credit risk of someone paying off their car payments or not. That's not your problem.
No, sir.
All right. Well, on that, Mike, thanks a lot. That was good. Thanks for coming up with an update here. Appreciate that, and I'd love to chat with you as things progress. Should be an exciting year.
Yeah, watch for news.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot, Martin.